The Magic's greatest opponent Sunday night was not the Washington Wizards. It was themselves and their demons, how they overcame it to win big today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is February 24th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, the Orlando Magic face the Washington Wizards. Relatively easy team to beat. But why the Magic faced a bigger challenge than just the Wizards, and how they overcame it today on Locked On Magic. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic an even bigger part of your day with the Locked On Magic daily newsletter, the one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers could get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. All of us expected the Orlando Magic to take care of business Sunday against the Washington Wizards. Listen to our friends at Locked On Wizards. I'm sure they have something to say about the game and all that, but the Wizards are not the opponent. When you're facing the Wizards, you are not facing the Wizards. You're facing Jordan Poole, who is liable to go off at any moment. You're facing a really fun young player in Bilal Coulibaly. Alex Sarr was out. Chris Middleton is out. Marcus Smart was out. This is a game where we expected the Magic to have a relatively easy time, to take care of their business and move on to Tuesday's game. You will find, we will talk about the box score in our second segment. You will find I am not talking about this game and the Wizards, or at least this game is about something bigger. And not about the Wizards, but about the Magic themselves. This is going to be a theme throughout the week, or really throughout the rest of the season, and really when we get into the offseason. This Magic team's biggest challenge is not the opponent, certainly not an opponent like the Wizards. This team's biggest challenge remains themselves. The Magic's ability to overcome their own weaknesses, their own demons, their own mistakes is now the story of the season. We saw this Friday night against Memphis. We saw this Friday when Orlando lost a 19-point lead in the third quarter. When the Magic lost an 9-point lead and gave up an 11-1 run to lose by 1 in the final 4.5 minutes to the Grizzlies on Friday. We saw this in the mistakes that they made in that game. Mistakes that should not be happening, but mistakes that have become part of this team. If the Magic are going to be the team we all imagine they can be, then they've obviously got to continue to improve on some of these key things. They've got to make themselves the best version they can be. And that's obviously been a challenge for the last month. We know the Magic aren't going to shoot well. Shot 44.4% in this game. Shot 11 for 32 from 3, 34.4%. We know they will struggle on those counts and in those factors. What can't happen is missing shots causes them to settle for jumpers. Missing shots causes them to be loose on defense, to not get back in transition. That frustration over not getting foul calls or getting to the foul line or getting shots to go down doesn't lead to technical fouls and to mistakes on that area. For the Magic, their biggest challenge is fighting their own frustration, staying focused on what's important. And look, this team has every reason to be frustrated. This team has every reason to look at what they're doing, who they are, what they've become, to look at all of that and say, we know we are better. Why aren't we better? And to make mistakes trying to be better instead of just going out and doing it. This is the biggest challenge for the rest of the year. And so again, the Wizards are not the team that's going to tell us very much. But the fact that the Magic stuck to their defense, even though they couldn't make shots throughout the first half, that despite being down late in the second quarter, they rallied with 4 quick points from Franz Wagner to take the lead at halftime, and then came out on a 19-4 run to put the game away, to put this thing to bed. The fact the Magic did all of this shows us they get that message. That they get that they can overcome themselves. That the biggest thing holding them back is themselves. And trying to live up to expectations that they may not reach this year. Rightly or wrongly, we can evaluate that at the end of the year. That doesn't help you today. Doesn't help you reach your goals today. The Magic's biggest fight, certainly in this game, was against themselves. Paolo Banchero said in the locker room, we're a good team. They're not a very good team. If we come out and focus and play well, we will win. The Magic needed a half of basketball. It's just like the game against Charlotte. Orlando struggled through much of the first half, kept themselves in it, kind of woke themselves up in the third quarter, put their foot down against a team that can't play 48 minutes. You've heard me sit here and say this a million times about the Magic during their rebuild. They can play about 40 good minutes, and what happens in those 8 minutes is everything. The Washington Wizards could only play 40 minutes. The Magic dominated those 8 minutes, and the game was over. That's fine. All wins count the same. I'm not going to sit here and pretend this is anything special. But considering the loss the Magic had Friday, considering the amount of difficulties they've had, considering the fact that despite Washington being one of the worst offensive teams in the league, this Magic team can't score. So running away from teams is tough. We don't know when that bottom's going to drop out for this team offensively. We don't know how the Magic will respond when it does. They had a poor response, a decent response to it in the first half. In the second half, they had a better response to it. That's the challenge. That's the challenge for the rest of the year. Can the Magic respond and answer when they have to face their weaknesses? If they're not making threes Tuesday against Cleveland, how is their defense going to step up and make it easier? How is their defense going to get that lid unscrewed? That's the truth of it. That's where this team is at. And whether they could do that against a team like Cleveland is, who knows? We're going to find out in the seven-game playoff series, hopefully. The Magic's biggest fight is against themselves. That much we know is true. That much we know is accurate, is part of who this team is, what this team is fighting for, and what this team is trying to overcome. Again, I get it. Bar is set low. You don't need to tell me the Magic took care of their business against the Wizards, which I'm noticing I misspelled in our rundown, which I'm not changing at this point because it's late. I want to record this. Sorry, Wizards fans. I know it's misspelled on my rundown on the YouTube page. We know the Magic are better than the Wizards. The Wizards are the worst team in the league. All these wins count the same, as we'll talk about here in a minute. They took care of their business. That's enough too, considering what we've seen. The Magic put together a game that they can be proud of, though. It may not have been the first half that went to script or how everybody wanted it to, but the second half, the Magic faced themselves and came out conquering heroes. So with that, let's go into the details of the game. We'll talk about the box score, run through some of the facts and figures from this win. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to my friends over at DoorDash. NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in the game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When any player scores 50 or more points in a game during the 2024-2025 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. Whether you're trying to have an epic game day feast, celebrate by ordering wings, pizza, or burgers from your favorite spot delivered straight to your door after that epic 50-point performance. Or if you need a quick and easy lunch the next day, with Dash Pass, you get your favorite meals with $0 delivery fees and reduced service fees. Plus now, save even more with this exclusive NBA offer. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save when any player scores 50 or more in a game. Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day up to $10 off. Just use promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. All right, let's run through the final box scores. The Orlando Magic defeat the Washington Wizards 110-90. Look, Magic are better than the Wizards. I don't need to say much more than that. Even when the Magic were struggling in the first half, their defense was excellent. The only complaint defensively really is that they fouled too much. It was a very disjointed first half. Even the Magic sort of admitted that and said, that's kind of why the offense struggled to get itself going. Just no one could find a rhythm. Orlando found that rhythm first. And again, because their defense is so good, they just like the win at Charlotte earlier this year, just like the win last week against Charlotte, 2 weeks ago against Charlotte now. The Magic just kind of bided their time, waited for them to make that run, and they beat an opponent they should dominate. Like, again, I don't think we will get a lot from this game. Franz Wagner, 23 points, 11 for 22 shooting, 1 for 7 from 3. He just missed threes, but everything else was classic Franz, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Don't need to say much about that. Again, there's 3 turnovers. Orlando turned the ball over a little bit. They've been better with turnovers since the All-Star break and really over the last few weeks. 16 turnovers was a high amount. Just a lot of, again, just the goal is to overcome frustration. The Magic were able to do that, but a lot of these frustrations are self-inflicted. They're missing shots. They're taking bad shots, trying to force action, trying to draw, force fouls instead of getting them themselves. Franz did Franz things. Like, again, just a pretty 23 points is an average Franz game at this point. Just areas that he can continue to get better, just reducing those turnovers and making some threes, but got the looks he wanted, got to the basket. I'm not angry about Franz. Paolo Banchero, really nice game from Paolo, actually. 19 points, only 5 for 12 shooting, 1 for 2 from 3, 8 for 9 from the foul line. Had, I believe, 8 of those free throws in the first quarter. 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Like I said, I think this was a good Paolo Banchero game. I know the shooting isn't there, 5 for 12. He still struggled at times, seeing where the double team was coming from and trusting to make the pass out or knowing where his outlets were with his passing. The Magic generally still are seeking confidence with their shot. Once they got a couple to go in that third quarter, the floodgates were open. Again, the Magic are currently now 16-6 when they shoot better than 33% from 3. They don't have to do very much. But the Magic's threes came in bunches, especially in that third quarter. Once the Magic were able to get stops, get out and run, ball was starting to zip around a little bit. They were getting open looks, hitting rhythm jumpers. Again, it's just so much about being in rhythm, on time, on target passing. My only complaint with Paolo tonight is that he, again, didn't read double teams particularly quickly and know where his outlets were. And I think, again, some of it is they're struggling to trust shooters or they're struggling to trust players to make those shots. And so there's a little bit of hesitation to pass out. And that hesitation is death. That hesitation is the worst thing that could happen. So again, I like what Paolo did generally. I thought he was aggressive. He got to the rim, got to the foul line. I want to see more of that. He is, I don't think you are ever going to see him be this year where he was at the beginning of the year. I think he needs an offseason to get himself back right. You'll be a lot better at the start of next season. But I think we are starting to see Paolo kind of get back to form. And again, I don't think it's ever going to be what it was at the beginning of the season. I think there's this, I don't really want to address this weird debate that's happening among Magic fans. It's not either or, it's both and. The Magic need both Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. Paolo is getting a max this summer. I know what the advanced numbers say. I know that there's still things that Paolo needs to work on. We're not ignoring that. But this year, yes, I think Franz Wagner is the better player. And a lot of that's just Paolo is still working himself back into shape. And that's okay. He still is the tough shot maker on the team. And the Magic are going to need that when they get to the playoffs. And frankly, whether the Magic can be competitive in that playoff series is going to depend on how well Paolo plays and just how healthy Paolo looks. So, I think that Paolo is getting there. I think Sunday was another step in the right direction, to be perfectly honest. I think he's playing pretty well. Off the bench, Anthony Black ties a career high with 23 points, 7 for 12 shooting, 4 for 5 from 3 from Anthony Black. When he makes threes, when he is shooting confidently, he's really tough. And he was aggressive. I thought he looked to get downhill really well, defended well, added 7 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, a block. Really nice game from Anthony Black. When he's shooting confidently from 3, making those shots, really good step. He said, he's been a microcosm for the team. He says, I feel confident in my shot. I'm trying to take these shots more. They're just not going in. He even said after the game, I've had good misses lately. Back iron misses. That means he's on target, just maybe a little too strong. I've heard that phrase before. I don't know if I buy it completely, but he got him to go win. That's what matters in this game. Goga Bitadze had 11 points, 9 rebounds, 5 offensive rebounds. Good game for Goga Bitadze. He has settled in really nicely in that bench role. He's active, just energetic, all over the place. Again, just exactly what the Magic need from that bench role. Wendell Carter continues to play really well. 5 for 7 shooting, 1 for 1 from 3, so he hits a 3. 11 points, 9 rebounds. Another near double-double for him. I know everyone's going to say that Goga Bitadze had the same stat line, blocked a few shots. Yes, that is true. They're both very good. It's not a bad thing to have options. Wendell Carter's played well since the All-Star break. He does look fresher. He is getting rebounds better. While the Magic gave up some offensive rebounds early, Washington only had 4 in the game. That is a credit to both Wendell Carter and Goga Bitadze, as well as Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, who also helped out on the glass. Again, really good effort. Just really good job by Wendell Carter. I think he's continued to play very, very well. That's really it. KCP had 5. Cole Anthony struggled, 1 for 9. He had 5. 3 points from Tristan Da Silva, Jonathan Isaac. Caleb Houston had 5. Jet Howard had 5. Or Caleb Houston had 3. Jet Howard had 5. Jonathan Isaac did not score. It was an ugly game. And the Magic like to play ugly games, so I'm not angry about it. You expected them to blow the Wizards out. It took the Magic a half to really get themselves going. They got up by 7 in the second quarter. So they did start to pull away, and then they kind of got caught a little bit in the pace. They struggled. They just didn't make shots to stay ahead. They started fouling a little bit too much. Usual things this Magic team struggle with. The Magic faced them down, came out in the second half, took care of their business. There isn't a lot to say. Like, again, I wish I could tell you more. I wish I could say, oh, this is the Wizards we're talking about. We were never going to learn very much about this team on this game. You just wanted to see guys play well enough to win, take care of their business. And guess what? The Magic did that. As much as you might be frustrated with the first half, the Magic came out in the second half and did what good teams do. They put their foot down. They ended the game, went up by as much as 26. It's been a while since we've had a game like that, especially at home. The Magic were never in doubt. No, I don't think anybody was worried about them losing this game. The Magic took care of their business. The Orlando Magic beat the Washington Wizards 110-90. They are back in action Tuesday against Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's do a standings check. So we're going to talk a little bit about where the Magic are in the standings now that they're starting to win again, coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started. And there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you could stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay. I would love to use FanDuel because they have so many great options, but I live here in Florida and I can't use FanDuel because government. But if you want to use FanDuel, you can use it to back your favorite team for a late game rally or pick a player to hit that clutch three. If you could think it, they probably have odds on it. You never feel like you missed your chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We're going to get into this habit. We're nearing the three-quarter mark of the season. We'll do our third quarter review coming up in the next couple days. Probably like tomorrow will probably be a very third quarter heavy season. I'm planning to talk a little bit more about how this season's gone and what we've learned about this team this season. So we'll probably get to that tomorrow. That'll probably serve as our third quarter review. But we're entering the final 20 games. Orlando's played 59 games. That means they have 23 games left. We are getting very, very close here to the stretch run. You've heard me say this a million times. This homestand is a big one. 7-game homestand. Magic are currently 1-1 on the homestand. They played 10 of 11 games at home, starting with the game against San Antonio a couple weeks ago. Orlando is now 4-2 in those games. So we're starting to see the Magic do something they haven't done in a while. They are stringing wins together. They've won 4 of their last 6. That is a step in the right direction. They've picked up 2 games. They're 1 game under 500 again. The goal for the Magic, I think, on this homestand is to go 5-2. That puts you in position to make a run up the standings. Ultimately, like the way this is going to work, if the Magic can string together 5 or 6 wins or go 6 of 8 or 7 of 9, just like start picking up some wins with few losses, just making up ground, the other teams are going to fall back to them. They'll be able to catch up and make up some ground because just right now, everybody in front of them is winning. Will that change? We'll find out. Orlando's still got a game against Milwaukee. Now that suddenly feels very, very important. Although Orlando lost the season series to Milwaukee, now that game feels very, very important. That's a 6-pointer right there if you understand soccer standings. They have this 7-game homestand and a 5-game road trip. That's 12 games, 12 of 26 games. We will know after that road trip what's possible. But here's where the Magic stand today. The Orlando Magic are currently 29-30. Game under 500. They are where they are at this point. They're 5-5 in their last 10. Currently, the Magic's magic number to clinch a play-in spot, so that is at least the 10 seed. The Brooklyn Nets are 21-35. The most wins they could have is 47. The Magic own the tiebreakers over both the Nets and Sixers, so we'll go ahead and say the Magic's magic number to make the play-in is 18. 18 wins or 18 Brooklyn losses, any combination of the two. So the Magic are still a little ways away from assuring they play game 83. Essentially, Orlando is 6.5 games clear of the Brooklyn Nets. They're not going to fall out of the play-in. We will be playing game 83 this year. It's just a formality at this point. But there's still work to do, obviously. Obviously, though, that's not what we're thinking about. Orlando is in a dead heat for the Southeast Division. The win, again, I mentioned this to a lot of people over the weekend. I was at my cousin's baby shower. I had a lot of family in. Everyone always asked me about the Magic. I always try to bring this perspective. Yes, Friday's loss stunk. It was a chance to steal a game from a better team that you're going to need to make up some of the ground we're going to talk about here. But at the end of the day, if you looked at this back-to-back and you said you would honestly say the goal was to split the 2 games and win the game against Atlanta. Winning that game against Atlanta is huge. The Magic will see the Hawks twice in the last week of the season, including the regular season finale in Atlanta. The Magic have pulled themselves ahead of both the Heat and the Hawks. The Heat lost to the Bucks on Sunday. Miami is now 3-7 in their last 10. Atlanta lost to Detroit on Sunday. They're now 26-31, 2 games back of the Magic. So the Magic are 1 game ahead of Miami for the Southeast Division lead. That could be important for tiebreakers. Certainly important for winning the 7 seed. They are 2 games of Atlanta and avoiding that 9-10 game. Obviously, though, Orlando's chasing Detroit. And right now, they're just trying to keep up. Important note to remember, the Magic own the tiebreaker with the Pistons. They do not have to have a better record than the Pistons. They just have to tie them. They're 2 wins behind in the win column, but the Pistons have played 2 fewer games. Pistons have 2 games in hand. Detroit is currently on a 6-game win streak and are 8-2 over their last 10 games. So Orlando has lost 3 games over the last 10 games from Detroit, which is the margin of error. I mentioned this on the episode last week. Miami, Atlanta, Orlando, all because they're in the Southeast Division, have relatively easy schedules. It's because they play Washington, they play Charlotte, they play each other a lot. Detroit still has a West Coast road trip coming up. Detroit has the hardest schedule of these teams that we're talking about. And we can't discount that Milwaukee might be in the picture too. Milwaukee has fallen to 5th in the East. They are 4.5 games ahead of the Magic. Now, that is a little bit of a harder challenge, but Milwaukee's only 3 games ahead in the win column, 6 games behind in the loss column. Milwaukee has played only 56 games. They played 3 fewer games. So Orlando would probably need them to go 1-2 in those extra games to help them catch up a little bit. I've said this before. Orlando has played the most games in the league at this point. They're the ones at a disadvantage. Miami is 1 fewer loss in 4 fewer games. So there are more opportunities to lose. But if Miami goes 3-1, they're tied. Very, very possible. They go 2-2, Orlando still holds a 1-game lead. So that's the situation for the Magic in the standings. Ultimately, and I agree with this completely, Jamal Mosley's not going to be concerned about what other teams are doing. If the Magic take care of their business like they did on Sunday night, the standings will take care of themselves. They have a big one on Tuesday. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. The Magic take on the Cleveland Cavaliers. They are the Cleveland Cavaliers, the number 1 team in the East on a 7-game win streak, 9-1 in their last 10 games. Big win against Memphis on Sunday. Darius Garland's been in and out of the lineup a little bit right now. Jared Allen's nursing a little injury, but on national TV, expect all their guys to play. The Magic are going to have to play very, very good basketball and show that they're still capable of beating good teams. Ultimately, Orlando still has games against Boston, games against Cleveland. They got a season finale against Indiana that they're going to need. They still got 2 games against Atlanta. They got a game against Chicago coming up. They got Golden State on Thursday, obviously. They got 2 against Toronto, who's playing a lot better. Toronto, though, 3-7 in their last 10. There is still a lot that's going to happen over the course of these final games. Orlando is playing catch-up, though, on all fronts, to be perfectly honest. They are still playing catch-up. Atlanta's firmly behind them. They played 2 fewer games, but have 1 more loss. So Orlando is ahead of Atlanta. They've got to fend off Miami. They got to hope Miami loses some games that they're not supposed to. And they're going to need Detroit to come back to earth to have a shot at this. That will not be easy. They are counting on other teams. So all the Magic can do at this point is be themselves. To me, the goal is get to 42 wins. If you can get to 42-40, I think you'll have a shot at 6. I think Detroit very possibly will finish better than 42 wins. They'll probably finish at 43, 44 wins. So Orlando's got a lot of work ahead if they want to catch the Pistons at 6. But it is very, very possible and very, very likely we will host a play-in game against Miami or Atlanta in that 7-8 game. And it's very, very likely that the Magic will be in the play-in turn. Will be in the postseason at the very least. Right now, though, the concern is the Magic. They're starting to win again. They're starting to look a lot better. And that's what we want to see. That's how we want this to develop and how we want this to build. And so I think the Magic are indeed moving in the right direction. But momentum is the next stage picture. How do the Magic handle Cleveland? How do the Magic handle Golden State? The Magic got to win one of those 2 games. Again, 5-2 on this homestand would be huge. They've already lost one, and one they probably shouldn't have dropped. Then they got to go on the road, and they probably got to win 2 of 5, go 2-3, survive that road trip. If you can get a third, great. We'll be able to update where they are at the standings after that road trip a whole lot better, and we get to that final sprint to the season. But Orlando is starting to look right, look better. We can start talking positively, I think, about the Magic's potential to climb the standings rather than fretting about where they're going to drop, because I do think that they'll begin to get some separation and start winning some of these games coming up. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD. Find me on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all filming channel podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at @OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, including my 3 takeaways after every game I posted around noon on the day after games, check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done listening to me, don't forget to check out the Locked On Magic daily newsletter, one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. For Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.